and place it over our legs with about 1 fist of space between our knees. And then you're going to lie back with your head touching the ground a little bit and your hips touching the ground a little bit, and the rolls underneath you. And then just work on getting there. We're going to spend a little bit of time in it, so it's fine if you spend a little bit longer than other people that are coming in now. That looks awesome, Jerry. Hey, Hans. Hans, today we're going to need 2 towels or blankets, a strap, and a big pillow or a block. Okay, it's 7:32. I'm going to go ahead and get over on my mat. And whenever you arrive in the somewhat complicated position that we're starting in today, we're just going to stay there, gently pressing your big toes into the ground and breathing deeply, exhaling fully each time. For those of you new to wearing a strap, you want to have about 1 fist of space between your knees over the rolls that you made. Your hips should still touch the ground, and your head should still touch the ground. If discomfort was okay in this position, it would be something that you had when you got here that went away or got better. But if you're here for a couple minutes and then it starts to hurt, I would go ahead and remove it just to be safe. And we want to give everybody a chance to spend at least a couple minutes lying in this position, breathing deeply, inhaling fully, and exhaling 100% of the way, dropping the belly to the spine. If you're feeling comfortable, feel free to add a little pause between your inhale and exhale. And as your breathing becomes dialed in, bring your awareness to the way your body's touching the ground. Does it feel like your shoulders are touching the ground the same way? Does it feel like your back is laying over the roll the same way on both sides? Does it feel like your hips are resting on the ground in pretty much the same way? On your next inhale, lift your toes up, keeping your heels on the ground. Spread your toes. Inhale deep. And then exhale, drop your toes to the ground, spreading them, and lift your heels up. You can either not press into the strap and relax your legs within it, or you can press out firmly the whole time. Kind of up to you. It's going to add a layer of complexity and probably more foot cramps if you press. Oh, someone's... And then you can give your feet a break. Oh, shoot. Okay. Bring your awareness to your hands. We're going to put our fingertips on the ground beside our head on either side. Try to keep your shoulders on the ground, your back relaxed, and slide your fingertips away from you as you inhale. And you may get to a point where you can't go any further, and that's perfectly fine. Reach as far as you may, and then as you exhale, slide your fingers back to your shoulders. And let's do that 8 or 10 times. If you want to add a layer of complexity, you can press your fingers into the ground as they slide, and that's going to engage a lot of muscles along your spine. And since we've trapped our hips and our neck and our femurs and our hips, the movement we're going to make is going to be equal on both sides. But if your body's not used to that, you might get a small cramp. It might feel difficult. And then let your arms relax. If you need to make any small adjustments, go ahead and make them. Find the ground with all your toes. Press your big toes down and press your knees out into your strap. Exhale, press for the whole exhale. And then as you inhale, just relax, do nothing. Exhaling, big toe pressure, pressing on your strap. Inhaling, doing nothing. If you feel pretty strong in your hips, you're not having any discomfort, you can press as hard as you want. And go at your own pace with your pressing and relaxing, and we're going to do it for the space of about 12 more breaths. Make sure you're still pressing your big toe down. And do 1 or 2 more. And then let your hips relax. Bend your elbows to point your wrists straight up in the air. And bring your elbows kind of close into your body. Now press your elbows down into the ground firmly as you exhale. And as you inhale, relax. And there might be some stuff happening with your shoulders or your upper back, and that's totally fine. But you just want to focus on pressing your elbows. Don't worry about anything else. Exhaling, pressing. Inhaling, relaxing. And do it at your own pace for the space of about 5 more breaths. Okay, now bring your elbows out to the side a little bit more. Not straight out, but a little bit more than halfway. And then we're going to do the same thing, pressing our elbows down firmly as we exhale and relaxing. Okay, and now we're going to turn our elbows out and up as high as we can comfortably. If you need to shove your roll out of the way a little bit, that's okay. And then we'll do the same thing one more time, a similar amount of times with the same breath. Exhaling and pressing. Inhaling and relaxing. Okay, now we're going to let our arms relax beside us with our palms up. Let's bring our awareness to our feet. We're going to stretch out our hips into a little internal rotation. Heel your feet out to the side, and then toe your feet out to the side, and then heel them out one more time again. And then reverse. So we heel in, toe in, heel in. And don't do it if it's hurting or it's uncomfortable, but we're going to go back out and in. And the more you reach with each little step, the bigger movement you're going to ask from your ankle and your knee and your hip. And we'll just go back and forth, keeping a deep breath. A couple more times. And then we're going to slide our strap down to our ankles. And we're going to tighten it a little bit. And then grab your big pillow and place it right between your knees. And if you're finding your rolls to be uncomfortable at all, you can take them out, but you're more than welcome to leave them there if they feel supportive and good. So we have our strap on our ankles and our pillow between our knees. Bear all your toes down to the ground. Press in on the pillow with your knees and press out on the strap with your ankles without moving your toes. And then relax. And we're just going to keep doing that. You want to try to squeeze and press at the same time. If you can't, squeeze the pillow first and then press on the strap. The press on the strap's kind of subtle. We're just rolling our ankle outside into it. And if we can keep our big toe pressed down at the same time, we're going to work on the muscles through the arch of our foot a lot. And we're going to work through it for the space of about 12 more breaths. Do one more good one. And then keep your pillow, but slip your strap off and set it beside you. And set your pillow down, but not far away. And then we're going to carefully take the roll out from under our neck. Take a couple deep breaths. And then we're going to lift our hips up just enough to take the roll out from our lower back. And we're just going to let our spine relax. Let's lengthen out our legs. Let our hips relax. Exhaling fully, dropping the belly button down into the spine. And now bend your legs again. Yeah, bend your legs again. Make your feet extra wide. If you're on a yoga mat, about as wide as your yoga mat. And then with the least amount of effort possible, roll your legs. Don't let them fall very fast. Roll your legs over to your left, rolling under the sides of your feet, allowing your hips to settle for a moment, and then very lazily picking your hips up and rolling them back the other way. And try to really focus on using the muscles of your hips for this activity by focusing on the way your hips are rolling and contacting the ground. And you can just go at your own pace. If it feels super great on one side and you want to sit there for a breath, go for it. And we'll spend maybe 8 more breaths on this one. Every 3 or 4 to each side, place your feet back a little bit further apart because they will wander toward each other. Okay, next time you're at the top, stop. And let's place our right ankle onto our left knee, left thigh. Your foot should be hanging off the side. Pay attention to that foot. See if you can even watch your own toes and try to make a big circle with your foot, curling your toes around the bottom and spreading them around the top. I started working with a guy this week who doesn't really exercise a lot, and we were doing this together, and he literally could not spread his toes or curl them. They were just there on the end of his foot, couldn't really do much. It was crazy. He could wiggle them a little bit by the time that he left my house that day, but a lot of work to do on those feet. Your toes are attached to tendons that run up to muscles that go along your entire lower leg and usually up into your knee. So if the bottoms of your feet are tight and stiff and unmanaged, then ultimately your whole lower leg is also the same way. And if it's like that down there, it can't be super healthy above that because that's your base. Switch directions, curling and spreading as much as you can, fighting for every little bit of motion in your ankle. Okay, now point your toe straight away from your knee and then pull your toes toward your knee. Try to stick the curl and the spread for a second at the extreme. Work for the activation in your end range. Okay, let's give that foot a break. Good job, foot. Then we're going to switch. We're going to put our ankle on our other thigh. Make sure your hips are on the ground in kind of the same way. I didn't mention that last time. My bad. But you should feel your hips on the ground pretty much the same way. Bring your awareness to your toes, potentially watch them if you're not sure, and begin some intense, thorough foot circles. Or winds, as I like to call them, foot winds. Because we're winding, it's not really much of a circle. Okay, switch directions. And now point your toes and then pull your toes. And give that foot a break. And now we're going to lay our legs out long again. Make your feet extra wide. Let your toes roll to the side. Place one hand across your belly button. Place one hand under your lower back, if you can. If your shoulders aren't very mobile, prioritize the good arm for your lower back. And what we're going to do is be still for a second and then try to squeeze your glutes all by themselves. And you want to try and feel the muscles of your stomach and the muscles of your lower back and feel that they are not tightening at all when you squeeze your glutes. You may have to squeeze just the tiniest amount at first, but if you can squeeze your glutes without crossing that threshold of compensation where your lower back comes in, you can increase the efficacy in just minutes. You might also notice that one glute works a little bit better than the other, tightens faster, lets go slower. Those are all just signs and symptoms of glutes that aren't working properly and are working differently. Ultimately, if your glutes are working differently, you can't step the same way from one side to the other. And when your body has an asymmetry like that in your movement, it's going to create inflammation over time. It's going to continue to take the path of least resistance in order to serve you and what you're doing during the day to its own detriment. And eventually, when the sides of your body become too different or a position in your body is too compensatory, you'll begin to have pain. You should notice now that your glutes are working a little bit more smoothly, acting more similarly. And we're going to do this for the space of about 10 more breaths. Squeezing our glutes is so important. I have a funny story about it, and none of you can tell me not to say it, so I'm going to tell you while we squeeze our glutes. I used to do posture work on all the teachers at the school I worked at. There was 97 other teachers there. And there was one teacher in particular named Gina who had just the most awful back problems. And apparently, previous to knowing me, she would throw her back out and she would be out of work for months, unable to walk, suffering intensely. And I did some posture stuff with her, and it felt pretty good, immediately. But she ended up never completely throwing her back out again the whole year, and then the whole second year. But during the second year, I did see her at the beginning of a faculty meeting getting a massage from one of the counselors. And I was like, Gina, what's going on? Is your back okay? And she was like, yeah, it hurts, but it's not going out. And I was like, Gina, did you squeeze your butt today? And she was like, my God, did I ever. As soon as the kids got out of the classroom, I turned off the lights and I laid down and I squeezed my butt as much as I could. There is nothing better. And that is a direct quote from Dear Gina. Okay, that's probably good. We're going to take ourselves off the ground and we're going to come up to our hands and our knees. Be gentle with it for a long time. And when you get there, you want to have your fingers spread, your arms straight, your knees are square, and your elbows are tight. And then take a second to just stretch your neck out a little bit. You can go side to side. If you're feeling like you need a lot, you can do the big neck circle, shoulder to ear, look up, shoulder to ear, chin to chest. And if you do it one way, you have to do it the other way. Okay, now bring your awareness back to your arms. This might be hard for you to see on the camera, but I want you to turn your elbows so that they point behind you a little bit, maybe right at your legs, and then turn them back out to the side. You want to try to keep your shoulder blades sunk in towards each other. You want to try not to move your fingers or bend your elbows at all. Any small movement you can make with those limitations is ideal. Okay, let's do a little cat-cow now. We're going to start by tucking our hips under, and then push your middle back up, and then tuck your chin. Stay there for a second, and then untuck your hips, drop your chest, look up. Starting again, tucking the hips first, lifting the back, tucking the chin. Starting again, lifting the hips, dropping the chest, looking up. Do a couple more at your own pace. Always trying to initiate the movement by moving the hips and then working your way up to your head. Seems simple and annoying, but if you're an upper back driven person, giving your hips any control can help you be a hip driven person, which is a good thing. Okay, we're going to sit our hips back, not quite to our heels, maybe 4 to 6 inches from them. If you're finding that your knees are uncomfortable, use your pillow. If you're finding that the tops of your feet aren't flexible enough, put your blanket or your pillow under the tops of your feet. If you're just fine, you're going to walk your hands out, placing your forehead down with your arms out long, fingers spread, and try to breathe into the space where your belly and your thighs are touching. Remember to exhale fully and inhale fully. And we're going to spend the space of about 4 more breaths right here. And then we're going to peel ourselves from the ground. We're going to come back up to all fours. And we're going to do a little bit of some core work. If your knees are feeling uncomfortable, make sure they have a pillow or a blanket. And what we're going to do is we're going to tighten our belly to keep our hips very stable. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together. And we're going to lift one arm out in front of us and take 3 deep breaths. Bring that arm back down. Tighten your belly again. Make sure it's braced. Brace your shoulders together. Lift your other arm up. Hold it for 3 breaths. And then bring that hand down. Tighten your belly again. Push your right foot behind you. Planting the toes and keeping the leg very tight. Take 3 deep breaths. And then lift your leg up just a little bit and take 2 breaths. Should be even with your hip, not higher. And then bring your leg down. Make sure you're nice and square. Brace your tummy. Reach out with your left foot. Plant the toe, tighten the leg. 3 breaths. And then squeeze the glute to lift the leg, and 2 breaths. And then bring that knee back in. And let's go into a cow. So not the cat, but the cow. We're going to tilt our hips up, bring our shoulders together, and you don't have to look up all the way. Just look up a little bit. So keep this position in your spine and your shoulders, and inhale as you sit back. And as we all know, cows can't sit, so you're not going to be able to sit all the way on your feet. You're going to exhale and come back up to a neutral position, but keep that hip position and the back position. Follow your breath. We're going to push down into it a few more times. You should feel maybe a little stretch in your inner front hips, hamstring, glute area. You shouldn't really feel your back moving. Your back should be tight and braced. Okay, take a break. We're going to come back to our little balancing thing. Now, if that was hard enough for you already, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to give you a next option. So you can just start working on your arm, 3 breaths, or you can put your foot back and put your hand, opposite hand in front of you. So right foot back, left hand in front. Right hand is going to stay flat, right arm stays tight. And then lift your arm and squeeze your glute and try to balance on just the one knee, one hand. And you can do that for 1 breath. You can do it for 2, 3, maybe even 5. Make sure you keep your belly super tight to protect your back from bending into a back bend. And if you're just doing arm, do leg also. If you're not, extend the left leg back, reach with the right hand, and when you're ready, squeeze left glute, right shoulder. And when you're done, you're done. I'm going to have us, we're just going to come up to standing, however works best for you. Take your time, and we're going to find our wall. Hopefully it's right next to you. And I'm going to have you lean on the wall with your back. I'm going to lean on the wall, and I'm going to walk my feet forward. Hopefully there's no slippery surface. Hopefully you don't have socks on the tile. And we're going to get our feet maybe somewhere between 2.5 and 3 feet from the wall. And then we're going to drop not all the way into a seat. We want to be sitting well above our knees, okay? Well above your knees, because that's going to take the stress out of your knees and make it a little easier, okay? So your ankles are in front of your knees, your hips are above your knees, your feet are straight. You're going to press your lower back into the wall. So it's like you're drawing your belly in, opening your lower back, flattening it to the wall. Your shoulders are going to come forwards a little bit. That's perfectly fine. When you get that engagement, look down at your feet. Make sure your knees are pointing at your outside 3 toes. Toes are all pressed. Keep looking for more surface area of your lower back on the wall. We're going to take 4 or 5 more deep breaths. If this is tough, you don't have to sit very far down at all. It's really just about leaning into the wall and pressing it. I am not challenging my legs whatsoever because I'm sitting up super high. Okay, now you're going to put your hands on the wall, lean forward a little bit, and push, and then you should be standing up again. Good job. And then we're going to make sure all your blankets are out of the way, and you're going to put your heels on the wall, put your hips on the wall, put your shoulders on the wall, and then put your hands on the wall. And we want to spend about at least 10 deep breaths right here. A little bit of big toe pressure. If it's work, that's okay. It's very important muscles that are working. You should feel your thumbs on the wall, both shoulders, both hips. Maybe not your head. You don't have to force your head to the wall. So let's take 3 more deep breaths before we come off the wall. We're giving our body a chance to respond to this vertical surface, to reorganize our muscles a little bit so that our shape is more upright. Okay, that's good. And then make 2 fists and put them on your head. Put your elbows on the wall, and you're going to keep your shoulders on the wall. You're going to reach forward with your elbows as you exhale, maybe to touch them, maybe not, and then open them up all the way back to the wall. And you got to keep both hips, both shoulders on the wall. Let's do a couple more. Good job. All right, now we're going to turn and face the wall. I'm going to put our hands just a little bit higher than our shoulders. We're going to take probably a couple medium-sized steps back. Make sure your feet are straight. And you're going to stick out your butt, push your hips behind you, straighten your arms, and drop your chest a little bit. Now, this doesn't have to be very strenuous. The higher up you keep your hands, and the less you push your hips behind you, the less intense it'll be. But if you want to push into it and it feels good, feel free to do that. You're just going to keep dropping your chest, keep tension in your arms, tension in your belly, and just keep tilting your hips up to put tension through the backs of your legs. And we're going to stay here for at least 6 more of our deepest breaths. Okay, and then we're going to start to lift our chest and walk our feet so we're standing upright. Oh, good. Everybody's still here. My thing went away for a second. All right, we're good. Okay, you can walk forward. We're going to come out of it. Sorry, I think you were there a little longer than I wanted because my connection went out. Good job. So if you are uncomfortable doing a forward fold at all, I want you to stand on the wall again for a minute. If you can do a forward fold, we're just going to carefully reach down and touch our toes or reach for our toes, okay? Do whatever is comfortable for you. Don't hurt yourself.
Sean, this is Maru. Should I do that?
If you haven't done it in a long time, maybe just stand on the wall. If you haven't done it in a long time, maybe just stand on the wall.
I'm very flexible, but
Your call.
give it a try.
Your call. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'd maybe do it next to a chair in case you need some support and you can't get all the way down. Okay, and then the way I like to get up is I like to bend my knees as much as I can and then look up a little bit and then stand up. It's like a squat. Great job. And now I want us to lie on our backs with our legs up the wall. If you have trouble getting up to the wall, I would recommend leaning on one hip and using that hip as a foot and just scooting it up to the wall sideways and then rolling your legs up gently. And you want to be at a space with your wall where your hips are firmly on the ground and your legs are able to be straight. So that might be anywhere from right up against the wall to 10 inches from the wall, depending on your body. Okay, now that we've had a moment to adjust, reach down into the floor with your hips, reach up the wall with your heels. Take a look, try to make sure your legs are pointing pretty straight up. You're not sideways. And then I want us to reach above us anywhere our arms can relax. That might be straight above you, it might be kind of in a Y, wherever your arms can relax. Pull your toes down, tighten your legs, and roll your knees out to the sides. And then in, kind of pivoting where your heel is touching the wall, keeping your hips pressed down, heels up, toes down. Okay, let's go a little bit wider than we were. I'm going to do the same thing again. And then let's bring the bottoms of our feet in towards each other until we can rest them into each other. Let the knees relax. They're going to fall towards the wall a little bit. Your hips should still be on the ground. Okay, now put the bottoms of your feet back on the wall. They're going to have to go a little bit higher up. See if you can shimmy yourself 4 or 5 more inches from the wall. And then you can have your feet flat, and it's going to feel like a deep squat. Your knees should be in front of your hips. You might be able to just barely touch the wall with your fingertips, or a little bit further if it's too intense. You can scoot back to make it less intense. You can have your big toes pressed into the wall. Roll your knees out to the sides a little bit, and then back in. Okay, now try to draw your toes off the wall a little bit. Then press your toes to the wall, lift your heels. You're keeping your feet and your knees just as wide as they were when you're doing your toes. Okay, and then we're going to come off the wall. We're going to turn back so that we can lay down. Take your time. Be comfortable. Oh. Make sure wherever you put your arms, they're palms up, toes are rolled out to the side, relaxed. And one more time before we are silent, let's squeeze our glutes a few more times. You don't have to put your hand on your back unless you were really struggling with it earlier. It should be a little bit easier now. And you just squeeze them and relax. Okay, and then if you want to get in some extra glute squeezes, go ahead, or just lay and be still and quiet with yourself for a moment. Okay, start to wiggle around a little bit, move your smallest pieces, do a little reaching, maybe a little twist, and anything you feel like you need to do before you come to a seated position. And that was it for today. I hope the video didn't get messed up and my connection went out. I'm gonna have to